Well, hello again. This is Ray Morales with The Blind Spot. And today I'm happy to have as my guest Rick Combs. Rick, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. It's kind of warm in Tucson, but other than that, it's great.
Yeah, it's not too bad, is it?
No.
Um, so let me explain to my listeners. Rick and I are both here in Tucson, Arizona, and we're at the Blind Rehab Center. It's an awesome facility. Any of you blind guys that are out there listening, um, you should try and get here pretty quick because it's really nice. All right, Rick. So tell us about you and your background. What military branch did you serve in?
Okay, I was in the Navy for 4 years, from the summer of 67, and then all of 68, 69, 70, and then the summer of 71, 4 years of service was done. I was a radioman, communications, and for the first 2 years after I got out of A school in San Diego, learned the radio skills, the Morse code, and all that.
Hmm.
And my brother was also a radioman, and he had been in for about 15 years. So we decided to apply for brother duty. So we got it, and we went to Stockton, California. My first duty station, the Naval Communications Station, San Francisco, in Rough and Ready Island in Stockton. And I worked in the facilities control, best job in the Navy I've ever had. We got to use the teletypes to order the transmitter and receiver stations to change frequencies during the day as the envelope, in the ionosphere would switch, and we had to change communication. But I also serviced crypto gear to make sure all the communications were secure. After that tour, I was assigned to the USS Preble, a guided missile destroyer, destroyer leader guided missile number 15. It was in Philadelphia Naval Shipyard going through retrofitting, and the crew was assembled in Norfolk, Virginia. So my wife and my little daughter flew out, joined me there, and closer to the time of commissioning, we got a car and we drove from Norfolk through Washington D.C. and up to Fort Dix, a little town called Pemberton, New Jersey, just outside of Fort Dix. And I would cross the Walt Whitman Ridge every day going into the shipyards. We commissioned the ship, took it out, and shook it down from all of the people that were working on the ship, make sure all the systems were working. Then we headed south. We went down to Guantanamo Bay, Cuba to refuel through the Panama Canal. And on the Pacific side, the water was so just like glass. There was not a ripple in that
Hmm.
water. We went
Wow.
up to Acapulco, and we broke down. The ship's engines weren't the best in the world. So San Diego said for us to stay there, and they would send a tug to bring us up to San Diego. And the captain says, "There's no way I'm being hauled by a tug." So he had us all back on the ship and doing just 1 or 2 knots, just barely making headway up to San Diego. They repaired the engines, and then we went from San Diego over to Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. That was our home port. Boy, that was tough. Hawaii is a beautiful
Yeah,
place,
that's a
and
tough duty station.
yeah, it is tough. And then my wife and daughter joined us over there for a few months, and then it was time to go to Westpac, so Western Pacific. So we
Hmm.
got back on the ship. My wife went home to stay with her mom while I was over on the Westpac, and we first of all went to Midway to refuel, saw the Goonie birds, out on the airfield, and then
Uh-huh.
Yokosuka and Sasebo, Japan. We stayed there for quite a while because we had an assignment to bring the intelligence people on board ship. And at nighttime, we would go up off the North Korean coast, and they would listen in to what was going on. This was
Oh,
after the Pueblo was captured, and they finally figured out, oh, if we're going to do that, we probably should send people with guns, to defend themselves. So
yeah.
then went back to Yokosuka and Sasebo, sat there for a while. Then we headed toward the Philippines, Guantanamo, I mean Subic Bay, and my
Uh-huh.
time was up. and I got on an airplane at Clark Air Force Base and flew back home and processed out while the ship went on to Yankee Station. The duty of the ship, the USS Preble, was to retrieve downed pilots that had ditched in the ocean. But that was my
Oh, okay.
military career. And then after that, I got a job at Procter and Gamble, worked there for about 30 years. I was an industrial electrician. And we had a really, really good organization that ran both the plant in Modesto that finally closed and then relocated down to Oxnard, California. So that's my home right now, is in Camarillo, just outside of Oxnard. The weather is
Oh,
absolutely wonderful. No frost, very little fog, if ever, and a 90-degree day is considered hot. There's no air conditioning or very little air conditioning in the homes in Camarillo because for 2 weeks out of the year, it'll actually get up to 90, and it's not justified to have an air conditioning. But after
right.
that, I started becoming blind in 2017. I have glaucoma and detached retinas, and probably two or three other different conditions that the doctors have told me and I've forgotten about. They can slow down the progress of that blindness, but they can't stop it. But since
Hmm.
2017, I have gradually lost my vision more and more, and I consider myself totally blind now. I can tell if it's daylight outside, if there's a window in a room, and if the,
Okay.
the light is on in the ceiling, I can see a very faint glow. No color, no detail, so I consider myself totally blind. I
Right.
went to
Hmm.
the blind rehab center in uh, down in Long Beach, California, for the first
Right.
two times, 7 weeks each time. And I was pretty depressed about the loss of my vision. Why me, all the different pity things and all that stuff. I got down there and there were 20 other vets, some of them worse, vision than what I had. So I had to do some very quick self evaluations. What's wrong with me? Why am I not just getting on with life and learning these skills and techniques? And they introduced me to a lot of technology there, two times. Wonderful people, good site. The staff is excellent, and the R&R, the evening, the weekend trips and stuff. They have a fishing boat that will actually take you out deep sea fishing, and there's all kinds of museums and stuff in that area. We have, after the COVID uh, hit us, and all the isolation, I kind of got a feeling that once you get graduated from the blind rehab centers, there's not much support. They'll talk about bros and different things and stuff, but there
Right.
wasn't much for us to do. So they started there in Long Beach a telephone call uh, because they couldn't, outreach patients. There was no one going there because of COVID, and we got to liking that. And the veterans that had the call, decided to keep it going. Long Beach decided to stop doing that call, and we decided we still liked it. So we formed a group called the Blind Faith Network. And we call it Blind Faith because when we go walking with our white canes, we take those steps in blind faith. And our group has been in existence for about 3.5, maybe 4 years now. And we have around 40 low vision and blind veterans. And we've had about maybe 7 or 8 civilians that we have asked to join us just so we can share our learnings with them. And every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific time, we have our call, and we call it Chit Chat and Chew the Fat, where we first of all share information with each other that we have learned over the last week, about how to deal and be more independent with blindness. And if there are any books that have inspired us, and we've also had 3 or 4 different very inspirational, speakers give us talks and things like that. And it's been very helpful. And on top of that, on Tuesday, we tease the Marines a lot. But then on Thursdays, on Thursdays is our formal presentation. And we've just learned how to mute everybody so we don't hear the dishes rattling in the background and dogs barking and children screaming and stuff. So we invite a formal presentation from either the National Park Service or something like that. And we have been all over the United States, everywhere from the Everglades to Denali National Park in Alaska, Boston, the walking tour out to King Kamehameha's palace in Hawaii, and everything in between. Upcoming, we have Hearst Castle and the Jefferson's home in Monticello. We'll get a tour of that. Here in Tucson, every time I go someplace, because I'm the outreach person, I will try to make contacts with presenters. And I found two of them here, one for the Pima Air Museum, a young lady who did an excellent job telling us about the same type of aircraft that Amelia Earhart flew. There was a Blackbird on display there and several other, a Warthog, those types of aircraft. Then we went over to the other museum, the 309th Bomber Group, and they gave us a fantastic presentation. A lot of the different artifacts, the Mae West, the parachutes, the Norton bomb sight, and a dummy bomb, all those things that you could feel and touch, to get an idea. Plus, they were explaining, all the different missions that they flew over Germany. So I've got them as well to give us a presentation. So other than that, Ray, I think I've probably talked too much, but inspiration, we, like I said, we teach each other, and we rely on, I'm blind to get our way sometimes, but the wives don't care, no pity there. Do it yourself.
No. Yep. It's tough love all the way, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It is.
All right. Well, you've mentioned your wife several times now, so tell me a little bit more about you guys. When did you meet? How did you get married? Blah, blah, blah.
Oh boy, that's a big story. My wife and I met in high school. I was a junior, she was a sophomore, and love at first sight on my part. Took her a year before she decided I was serious and wasn't going to leave her alone. So she quit hiding in the girls' bathroom, and sometimes I would go out on the athletic field that was next to where the classrooms were, and I would give her a Tarzan yell to let her know that I was thinking about her. So she was very, very embarrassed. But being first generation American Portuguese, I don't know if you could tell if she was blushing or not. And then I proposed to her at the end of high school, and she says no, not until she got through with junior college. So we both went to junior college, and
Mm-hmm.
I was a police cadet trainee. And she told me, says, I don't want to be sitting at home on the couch waiting for someone to knock on the door to let me know that you're not coming home anymore. She says, find another career. So about that time
Wow.
is when the draft was going pretty heavily, and I did get a draft notice, and I went into the Navy at that point. But we've been married for now 56 years, and
Congratulations.
on July the 20th will be 57. And on our very first anniversary, I am a space nut, and I didn't want to go out to have dinner with my wife. I wanted to sit at home and watch Neil Armstrong step out on the moon. She wasn't too happy, but she did understand.
Wow. That's amazing. So she stuck with you all this time.
Yes, she put up with me. She does still puts up with me.
Well, you must be doing something right, buddy. I can tell you that. Me and my wife, we've been together. This will be 43 years this year. So I'm proud of that fact that
Well, good.
I haven't
Any
run her
family?
off. What's that?
Do you have
Yes, I have.
family, kids?
Yeah, I have 3 kids and 4 grandkids.
Wow, good for you.
Yeah. And you?
Well, I had my wife and I had 4 children. The
Hmm.
oldest is 50, little just beginning in her 50s. She lives in Florida with her husband and our two twin grandchildren. And then the next one is Joe, my oldest son. He's just turning 50. He's a chiropractor, so he keeps me
Oh,
straight. And
yeah.
then my next daughter, she died about 2 years ago from brain tumor. That was a tremendous
Mm,
loss, and
sorry to hear that.
she left us 3 living grandchildren, and 5 of the children are already waiting for her in heaven. And
Oh,
then the next thing, Michael, the youngest, Michael Motorcycle. Oh, he was a tough one to raise, but he also became a chiropractor, and he practices with his older brother. They have a business together there in Oxnard.
oh, cool.
And yeah, the grandchildren are really the greatest thing because you give them sugar and send them home.
Exactly. Well, yeah, I have my oldest daughter. She also lives in Florida with her family, Tampa, where they live.
Oh, that's close to this place. My daughter lives in Ave Maria, which is
Oh,
about
okay.
45 minutes from Naples, and it's not too far from
Yeah,
Tampa, I believe.
not bad. So anyhow, what do you like to do for hobbies?
Oh, I love my audiobooks. I listen when I'm at home. I listen to Bard a
Uh-huh.
lot, and I listen maybe sometimes two books a day. And at
Right.
that's a fault because now I've been sedentary for about 3 years, listening to those things and catching up on history and things like that. So here, one of my goals has been to get sedentary. And
Right.
my O&M instructor, that's orientation mobility. The first day she got me up out of my chair in my room, got me walking. We must have walked for 45, 50 minutes, and I think she walked my legs off. And at the end, I told her, hey, you didn't have to take that and get me out of the sedentary mood, literally. You
Right.
could do
Not
it
all in one day.
gradually. Yeah. But
Yeah.
she's a real good person. I tease her a lot, and while we do all the nurses and the staff here, we can banter back and forth with them pretty quickly, and they can hold
Hmm.
their own.
So how long have you been there in Tucson?
I've been here for 5 weeks, and I'm going
Oh,
to be going home on the 24th of May. I'll be
wow.
leaving.
Well, I'm glad I caught you while you were here.
Yeah, well, thank you for taking the time to talk to me. I know I talk a lot sometimes. I get pretty
Oh, no,
verbal.
you're doing really good. Yeah, we can thank the nurses for setting us together. I was telling them about my podcast, and they said, you know who you should interview is Mr. Combs.
How much did they pay you?
Uh, I wish. No, it's been a pleasure talking to you. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I'm learning a lot. Now, I have an organization that we started too, kind of the same way you guys started yours, but we're still in our infancy. We've only had 3 or 4 meetings. We do monthly meetings on Zoom, and it's pretty much the same thing, except you guys are doing way more than we do. But I'm sure that will come as we grow.
Well, yeah, we've been around for almost 4 years now. And
Yeah.
Docu Daily, my counterpart, like I said, he's 92 years old, got a
Hmm.
PhD in education. He's still sharp. He does fight with the cat. Him and the cat go round and round. He said he left his Bluetooth keyboard on the bed one morning or one day, and he came back and the cat was walking all over his Bluetooth keyboard. And he says he lost half of his data. So him and I go round
Oh
and
no,
round about different topics and stuff. I consider him a very, very dear brother,
that that was a
for blindness.
catastrophe.
Yes, it was. I'll tell him that. Yeah,
Yeah, I like those dad jokes.
yes.
My kids tease me all the time.
Hmm.
So, what do you see next coming up in your future?
Well, after I graduate from here, I will, while they're loading a bunch of technology on me and how to use a lot of different cooking appliances and stuff.
Hmm.
We tried the air fryer and stuff like that.
Right?
And the teacher wanted to try a new recipe on me. She says, I have an idea. We need to try this one. She says, it's an avocado and a raw egg. You cut the avocado in half, you take the seed out, and you put the raw egg into the center of the avocado and cook it in the air fryer. We tried it. It was horrible. So, as a result, I spread the word. I said, you need to go ask her the next time you see her at a staff or anything about her avocado and egg thing. So
Uh,
she's trying to get even with me.
oh boy, you better be careful. They
Yeah,
can be vicious.
they can. Yeah, they're pretty deceptive.
Well, it wasn't her fault. She probably got the idea off of some magazine or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the equipment and everything they have is very good, and all the, like I said, all the staff and they're very friendly. Even the thing about here in Tucson that I noticed that even the vets who are partially sighted will help you. I'm totally
Uh-huh.
blind, and if they say, "Oh, are you lost? You need help?" And a couple of times they have guided me back or told me, go back this way a little bit, to find the elevator. And that's something new that I haven't experienced at the other blind rehab centers. Well, that's something
What
else
a,
that are one of our projects. There are 13 blind rehab centers in the United
hmm
States, and we have done 8 of them. And we're trying to get the
wow,
other ones, the Hines and the Wilkes-Barre, Connecticut, out in Puerto Rico, West Palm Beach, and there's one more. I can't think of the name right now, but we've got most of them. And what we've invited is each of the chiefs to tell us about their facility. Why do we
right,
want to come to your facility? What's the draw? What is more important about yours than any of the others? And that's
right,
why I am in Tucson. The chief here, gave us a presentation, and it sounded really interesting, really, something that I'd like to do. So I had a little bit of difficulty getting back into Long Beach. They had said, well, about 7 or 8 week delay, you know. So I said, well, I'll go to Tucson. I got here within a week, and it's nothing but very very good for the whole time that I've stayed here. I'd really recommend this to all the veterans out there that have that ability to get to a blind rehab center.
right. It's a wonderful thing. That's exactly what we're doing. That's why I'm here in Tucson, because we decided every time one of us would go to a blind rehab, that we'd choose a different one than we went to before. So I went to Hines the last time, and I enjoyed my experience there, but this is far better than what I had at Hines.
That's what I've heard.
Just
We've had people talk about Hines as well, and some of the others.
I think Heinz is a little more rigid in their um, in their outlook on how they present it. And here at Tucson, I don't know if it's the climate or what, but they're just a little more laid back, and you learn more, I think, at your own pace.
Yes,
And
the program is supposed to be your program. They emphasize that all the time. Your program, you
hmm
decide what it is you want. Like, for instance, I was interested in Braille. I thought, well, it might be something I could learn. And
hmm
the first class or two, I could tell that I did not have the sensitivity in my fingers to read those small, configurations of the letters for
hmm
Braille. So I said, this is not going to work because there's too many other technologies out there that I will utilize, and Braille, whatever I learn, will just go to the wayside. So I
right.
scratched that one off of my goals.
Yeah, I think Braille is a technology that think has seen its day. It's and I'm sure it works for people in overseas that are in a lower economic climate where they don't have the technology available to them, so they have to go old school. But here in the United States, I don't think that's really that
Well, I think that
popular anymore.
my history or my understanding is that the earlier that you have turned blind, if you're blind
hmm
from birth or very young, that Braille can be an open door, to a lot of different books and learnings and things like that, and that's how, a person who is totally blind from a very young age learns. They
Right.
might have a little bit more of a difficult time with the technology, but Braille is something that specifically for them, it really does give them a boost.
Well, I guess so. They don't know any better.
Well,
But
they haven't had the life experience,
right,
to
right,
be exposed to anything else.
right. But us guys that are old and set in our ways and worked with our hands all our lives, our calloused hands, we're not as sensitive to feeling those little dots.
Yes, they are pretty small. I
Yeah,
think with
it's
practice,
crazy.
I could have done it, but like I said, I would have just let it go by the wayside, and depended on a different technology.
And when they were teaching us Braille at Heinz, um, the dots were big, and
Mhm.
then in comparison, they showed us a real document in Braille, and they were so tiny. I don't know how
Yeah,
you separate the dots. It's just my big fat fingers. I was getting two or three letters at a time, so it
yeah.
was confusing for me.
Yeah. One of the things that I would really wanted to mention too was preparation. You know, when I was sighted a little bit, I could tell that my vision was losing. And even when
Uh-huh.
I talked to people in our group, on our call and stuff like that,
Right.
there are several people that really are clinging on to the last bit of vision that they can. And that's really the wrong attitude. You
Hmm.
need to prepare when you still have some vision. You need to prepare for the day when you don't.
Right. Otherwise, you're going to be lost.
That's right. And really depressed. And there's no reason to be
Exactly.
depressed. God wants me to be blind. I'll be blind. He'll take care of me.
Right. That's the way I feel too. It's just it's part of life. You have to
Yep.
deal with it and move on.
Yep. And you'll find out that there are other ways to see instead of using your eyes. If you can hear a person and what they're speaking about and listen to their heart, sometimes you can really tell a person is a very good person just by listening and focusing in on them because everybody's
Right.
got a story,
Yep.
and they're all good.
Oh, and that's how the blind spot was born. Sitting around the chow hall or the dining room, talking to the other vets at Heinz. I thought to myself, well, I've got all this technology. What am I going to do with it? And then it came to me. And I said, I'm going to do a podcast. I'm going to interview these veterans, find out their stories. And man alive, I tell you, it has been a blessing to me. So,
Yes, and also like I said, I read a lot of audio books and
hmm
Docu Daily, my partner, Jorgensen, the man who started one of the blind American Council of the Blind, I think it was.
hmm
He there was a audio stories about him, and he pretty much told the kids that he was teaching in his school, you are an ambassador for the blind. You cannot go out into the public and be grumpy and mean and forceful and all those different things because
right,
they're going to get an impression that that's what all blind people are like. Or
right,
you can be calm and you can be helpful and you can be kind, and that would be a good impression to leave them, and answer the questions of little kids. Why can't you
right.
see? Why do you need that white cane? All these things kids are interested in. Answer them and be
Yeah,
honest.
they're curious. They want to know.
Yes.
Yeah, I enjoy it when the kids they say, "Look, mommy, that man's funny. He's got this stick." And so I'll take my time if they have the time. I'll say, "Excuse me, ma'am, your child would like to know more about me. I'll be glad to talk to him about it."
Yes.
Yeah, I
Yes.
mean it's great just to take the time out of your day to answer a child's questions and take that fear away from them because
Yes.
sometimes they have a little bit of fear. They don't want to talk to you
Hmm.
because you got
And if you take the time when you go to a doctor's appointment, you know, it's amazing how many of the staff or the nurses and even some of the doctors themselves have
hmm
no clue on how to be a human guide, how to deal with a blind
right,
person. You need to take it upon yourself to train that staff member or that nurse or that doctor.
right,
You know, don't grab my cane, don't grab my hand. Let me take your elbow. I can feel
right.
whichever way you move, left, right, or fast or slow. Tell me when there's
hmm
an obstacle, So it only takes a few minutes to train somebody how to be a human guide.
right. And then you give them a treat when they're done.
Yep.
Pat them on the head.
Yep.
And that's another thing about guide dogs that people don't realize. That's a working animal. When you
Yes.
see one out with a human being attached to the other end of that harness, he's working. You don't go up and bother him at all. You don't try to pet him. Um,
Hmm.
and I don't have a dog, but I know a bunch of guys that do, and that's their main pet peeve. People want to pet the dog while he's working,
Hmm.
and that's a good way to break that dog's training.
Yes.
So keep that in
Yeah. I
mind,
don't have a
people.
dog. I don't have a dog either, but I think it's Roseville or somewhere out in California. There's a couple of dog training schools, that
Hmm
vets go to get dogs. And the part of that deal is that not only is the dog trained, The owner is trained.
Right.
You
You have
have
to
to
go to,
you have to pass a lot of tests and stuff before you
right.
get that dog.
Exactly. Yeah, people don't realize you don't just go buy a dog and say, okay, I got a dog now, I'm blind.
Hmm.
So it's a lot involved. Sometimes it's you have to live with the dog for about a month or two before they let you take it home.
That's
And they
right.
have to evaluate you and make sure you can handle him and he
That's a
likes
good
you and you
partnership.
like him. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I had never been around a blind person before in my life until this happened to me. So yours happened because of glaucoma. Mine happened because of a massive stroke. It was in 2016, uh, no, 2014, I'm sorry, that I had a stroke. It still affects my brain every now and then. But yeah, it was crazy. I went to the hospital with high blood pressure and I woke up. It was like 2 or 3 days later and I couldn't see a thing. I was totally blackout blind. And my left side was totally paralyzed. So it was pretty rough on me. But thank God through prayer and for rehabilitation, I came through it.
Yep. I've
I
been
still
taught
can't
that
see.
I've been taught that blindness is just an inconvenience. It's
Hmm.
just an obstacle to work around because there are techniques and ways to do anything you want to accomplish, that a sighted person can do. You just have to make up your mind and your heart that you want to do that. And
Right,
the blindness is no longer, an obstacle.
right. I've interviewed guys that they climb mountains. They're totally blind, and it just blows my mind. Interviewed Lonnie Bedwell and
Yes, I know
several other
Lonnie.
people that,
We've had
yeah,
Lonnie interviewed give us a presentation. He's
he's an amazing man.
the first man to kayak down the Colorado River. His book is
Hmm.
266 miles
Right.
down the Colorado Rapids.
The first blind man.
Amazing, amazing. Yes, the
Yeah.
first blind man. Amazing. He put the roof on his house, and in his book,
Right.
if you read his book, he's got a tremendous sense of humor. He was going down the road with his brother driving the truck, and they saw in the distance their dad coming the other direction, so they switched. And the brother was telling Neil, kind of stooped down so you couldn't see him very well. And he was telling
Uh-huh.
Lonnie a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right, guiding him. And as his dad
Right.
passed, Lonnie waved to him, totally blind.
Yeah,
Poor
his
dad.
story is an amazing
It
story.
is. Yeah.
Uh, he was turkey hunting with a best friend of his,
Yep.
and his best friend shot him in the face with a shotgun.
Yep. Instant blindness.
Yeah. So he said, "LOL,
Yep. He
lights out,
also goes
Lonnie."
he also goes kayaking, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the lake. Yeah, I guess he has like a little place on the lake, and he'll set the radio on the little dock that he has, and he will
That way he knows
paddle
which way to
all
go.
over. Yeah, he paddle all over that lake and listen to that music coming from the radio. Knows exactly where he is. Amazing, amazing person.
Yeah, he is a wonderful guy. So hang on, I got to sneeze.
Okay.
Okay, I'm back. Yeah, he's one of my heroes. I told Lonnie, I said, Lonnie, when I grow up, I want to be just like you. He got a kick out of that. He
Oh,
said,
I
"You
bet
mean
he did.
ornery and blind?"
Yeah, Henri and Blind. Yeah, he just last year, I guess it was, finished climbing. Was Mount Everest.
Mount Everest, yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty dangerous. He gave us a description. He hasn't written the book that I know of yet about that
Not
climb,
yet.
but it was pretty perilous. I mean, those are the people
Yes,
that died.
he had
There
a
were people
rough
that
time.
there were people that died on the way up that mountain.
Yeah, he had problems with his oxygen freezing up on him and
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff. Well, and then I also know Steve Baskus. Have you met him?
No, I have not met Steve.
Oh, he's an amazing guy too. He was in the army and he was shot, or no, he was blown up. I'm sorry, and he took some shrapnel to the eye. So yeah, that's his story. But yeah, it's
Well, we have a
there are
guy,
veterans out there.
We have one of our members, Jesse Acosta. He's a sergeant major in the Army. He
Uh-huh.
was, and in one of the desert wars, a bomb blew up in front of him, instant blindness, and he's
Hmm.
damaged his skull, I believe. He came back, went through the rehabilitation and stuff, and now he is the head of a 501c3 called Thank a Vet Now, and he cuts the red tape. When the government wants to put maybe 2 or 3 or 4 weeks before they can help a vet, for the paperwork and all that, he goes right to the vet and helps them out. And he's
That's
got like
good.
four or five volunteers. Nobody is paid a salary. Everything that they take in, is used for helping vets. Don't He's a great guy.
Awesome. Yeah, it's amazing what these veterans can do.
Yep.
Uh, I love being associated with blinded vets. They they're the top in my book. That's for sure.
Hmm. Yeah.
Well, I guess we're going to start wrapping this thing up.
All
It's
right.
been a pleasure talking to you, Rick.
Well, thank
And
you, Ray.
I look forward to getting to know you more as we're here together for a few more weeks. And I'm sure my listeners are going to enjoy this interview.
All right. I hope
So again,
so.
I thank you so much. And let's give people a way that they can contact you, your organization.
Okay, if you want to contact me directly, my direct cell phone line is 424-395-6475. And I have it with me almost all the time. And I will be able to talk to you and refer you to Docu Daily. He has the all the roster for all the different people that we have on the call. And he also has the roster of when and what time and who will be giving us presentations on Thursdays. We're also working through the last 5 blind rehab centers, and that'll occur on a Tuesday. Our organization again is called the Blind Faith Network, and we get together every Tuesday and Thursday at 1 p.m. Pacific time for an hour.
Okay, that's great. And if you have any questions at all about this, don't be afraid to call Rick and ask him, because that's how you learn.
Yes, that's how you learn. Exactly.
And you can reach me here at theblindspot298@gmail.com anytime you want. You can ask me questions. You can even give me the names of a veteran that you know that would be interested in telling their story.
I sure
I'm
will.
always looking for guests.
Okay,
All
I
right.
sure will.
So,
And we'll be looking
uh,
forward to have you as a presenter, on
oh,
our call on a
well, I'd
Thursday.
be glad to do it. I'd be
All right.
glad to do that.
All right,
All
sir.
right. So, hang on just a second, Rick, while I say goodbye to my listeners and sign off. Okay.
All right.
And I'll get back with you as soon as I'm done.
Sure. Thank you.
Hmm. All right, folks. Well, this has been another great episode of The Blind Spot by Ray Morales. So, again, we'll see you next week. Um, I tell you what, today has been a fantastic day. I've done a couple of interviews today, and I'm stoked. So, I'm going to be flying high the rest of the day. This brings me so much joy. So you can reach us again at theblindspot298@gmail.com, or you can find us on Spotify. You can find us on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you can get your podcast from. You can find us there. The Blind Spot by Ray Morales. All right, we'll see you next time. Good night.